Okay, in this video, we're going to learn how to take a part from Inventor and translate that to line work that'll work with our laser cutter. The key here is we need to turn our 3D part into some 2D geometry. We're going to do that using an IDW drawing off of a part file. And then from there, we're going to change it to the right color and line weight that our laser cutter can read. And then we'll put that over to our laser cutter. And at the very end, I'll show you guys how to actually do the laser cutter itself. So I'm going to open up a file that was sent to me. So I'm going to go to open, and the file that was sent to me, it was in my downloads folder, and I dragged it to my desktop. So I'm going to go find it from my desktop location. There we go. And the file here is named claw. So I'm going to click on it and open that up. And as it opens, I'm just going to examine it real quick to make sure it's something that I can laser cut. What I'm looking for as I examine this part is that it's pretty much flat in nature. So that way when I project one of its views into an IDW drawing, I'm pretty much capturing the whole shape with exception to its thickness. So right now, I know that if I take a look at this thing, just like this, I can laser cut this geometry, and then whatever material I put in the laser cutter will automatically get me the thickness that I need. If this thing had another part maybe coming up that was perpendicular to the surface, it would be better for 3D printing and it would be worse for laser engraving. So this part will work. So now that I've determined that, I'm going to just create a new Inventor file. So I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to make it a drawing file because I need to have some 2D geometry. So I'm going to go new drawing. This is an IDW file. As this opens, I don't need this title block, and I'm going to change the size of the sheet. So there's two things I'm going to do. So the sheet size, I'm going to right click on it, and we're going to edit this sheet, and we're going to make it the size of our laser cutter. Our laser cutter is roughly 18 by 12 inches, 18 inches wide, and then 12 inches tall. That's the size of the bed of the laser cutter. So we're just going to go to a custom size. We could go to the 12 by 18, but technically the laser cutter is like a thousandth of an inch, like short of that, and I've had problems with that in the past. So we'll do a custom size. And our custom size here, let's name it laser, and we'll make the height of this 11 point, let's just do 11.8 to just be safe, and then we'll make the width 17.8. Okay, so it's just under our 12 by 18 bed size, and then this should be fine. We'll say okay. And so now we see that our paper size has changed. Okay, and this is actually the physical size of the laser cutter's bed as if we were looking down on it. If we wanted to place something on the laser cutter, typically we like to place it in the top left corner because that's where the 0 point is on the laser cutter. Then this paper, we don't need this border, so I'm going to right click and delete the border. And then I don't need this ANSI title block, so I'm going to right click and delete that title block. Now basically what we're left with is a blank sheet of paper that represents the bed of our laser cutter. From there, I'm going to project a base view onto here. So I'm going to click on base, and now it's like, all right, well, which file do you want? We can browse and search for any file that we want. But right now it already knows that I want the claw because that was the last thing that was open. And then I need to pick a scale, very important. So if we plan on making our parts the actual size that we made them in Inventor, we want a scale of 1:1. If we want it to be smaller, we can change that, or larger. And then I can shift it around. There's my current view, top view, bottom view, left view I kind of like, or the right view I kind of like. So let's just say I choose left view, and I'm going to place my part. Then I'm going to right click and say okay. So I have my part placed. The only thing that's wrong with it right now is that it's with black lines, and I don't really know their thickness. So I have to find out the line weight and the color now. How do I change that? So there is a way we can click in. If we double click in, we can kind of find some display options here. It's not there. Let's try a highlight and then a right click. And we're looking for something called like a line detail. Line detail. So let's see, we're not seeing it here. We might have to go up and search. I have to go up and actually search into the menus, but this is properties. So if we can get just the line itself without the box, if we have this border highlighted, it doesn't work as well. If we get just this just this line, and click on properties of the line, now I can find that line's individual properties. If I can highlight all the lines without getting that dashed box around the outside, that would be the fastest method here. So I've got that line now. Continuous is good, so bilayer is fine. Color, I'm going to pick a red, this red right here. Say, okay, we don't want to get into custom colors. We want this default red color. It can't be light red. It can't be dark red. It has to be this red right here. Say, okay. The line weight, we have to adjust. We need it to be as small as possible. So 0.0001 or 0.001 is our line weight. Then we say, okay. We click off. We can see everything changed except for this line here. So I need to get these lines. If I hold down Shift, Control, let's see if we get more than one. I hold down Shift, I can pick more than one line. Now the key here is I have to get every single line. I can't allow any lines not to be the correct color or line weight. Once I have those all selected by holding down Shift and clicking on them, I can right click, Properties, and then now we're going to change this to our red color. Okay. And then we're going to change our line weight to 0.0001. Okay. Click off. Everything looks pretty good now. Now that I have all that, since I know I'm going to be putting this in our laser cutter, I'm going to just try and bump this drawing up into the corner a little bit more so that way I'm not wasting materials. And click. Now it's up into the corner. Now I can take a small piece of material and I can place it in the bed of my laser cutter. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it to the same place. I have everything else saved for this project, but for this demo, I'm just going to put it on my desktop. You would save it to your H drive with everything else. I'm just going to name it Claw Laser because we're going to cut out the laser cutter and say save. But we're not actually done. We're going to export this as a PDF. And I also should probably measure, get an idea of like what this is going to be. Right now it wants to measure this, but what we would want to do is kind of figure out what size piece we need to put in our laser cutter for this to fit on there. You should be able to eyeball it pretty well, but if we can try and get a measurement on it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to export this as a PDF file. So File, Export, PDF. And we're also going to name it just same way, Claw Laser, same location. Let's check our options to make sure everything's okay. So just the current sheets, all colors as black, we don't want that. Remove object line weights, we don't want that. Vector resolution's fine. So this is good, how this currently is. Nothing's checked, and we just have the current sheet. We say okay, and we say save. This is the file we're actually going to send to our laser cutter. If you use the laptops that have the label on it that say Rayjet, that has the software for the laser cutter. So you need to email yourself this file, or you need to upload, even better, upload this PDF to your shared Google folder with your group. That way anybody in your group can download this PDF on the laptop that has the software, and then they can laser cut it. I'm also going to have a Google Classroom submission. So you'll take this and you'll upload it to Google Classroom in the event that I might have to access your file for laser cutting as well. Okay, so you'll have an upload on Google Classroom for your PDF, okay, for your parts. And then that way you can easily download them later, okay? Now that we have this, we would make sure that we have either laptop 29 or 28 open from this room or 29 and 30 from the other room. You're going to go to File, Print. You're going to actually have to physically plug into the laser cutter, which I'll show you in a second. And then we'll go down and we'll select the Rayjet. Okay. The Rayjet here, you can see that it's 17.99 long and 12.01 this way. So this is definitely going to fit on there. And then we want to make sure that we have no page scaling. And so that's fitting just like this. All of these settings are correct. If we want to check the properties of the Rayjet, we have to click on Properties. And on my website, you'll see that if we go over on the left, I have laser cutting. We click on that. You can get all the specs for the materials, okay, that we've discovered to be working pretty well. So for plexiglass, I recommend this cutting power and this speed and this many passes. And so then over in the Rayjet software properties, black is for engrave. So if we click on red, that's for cut. This is how you adjust your passes based on what we see here. Our power settings, we can type in what we want for our power, and then our speed, we can type in what we want. We want to make sure our material thickness is correct. So if plexiglass is 0.1 inches thick, I would want to make sure that this says 0.1 inches thick and autofocus is on. Once everything's the way I want it, I would then say next. And then I would make sure that this cutting table is checked. It needs to be checked. This thickness don't change. This helps the laser focus automatically. Once all that's good, you can hit play. And then basically it sends it to our laser cutter. Remember, you physically have to have the USB from the laser cutter plugged into the laptop for that to work. And you have to have the right laptop that has the Rayjet software installed. Okay, and it's labeled on the cover of the laptop. Once all that's good, call me over and I'll make sure that the vent's on, the laser cutter's on, and we'll be able to cut your piece.